on satellite, on Freeview, on cable, on radio, on mobile, on the web and around the world. This is First at 9 on Other Derana 24/7.
Fuel shortage hampers economy. Long queues continue to be seen at fuel stations despite government assurances. Strengthening local farmers. President Maithripala says should be ashamed of the high consumption of imported milk powder. Sri Lanka must be able to increase its share of global trade or face external pressures, says Deputy Minister.
I understand that trade reforms are at the very bottom of this, and unless we do those reforms, we are not going to be able to get where we want to.
Upcoming tour of the neighbours. Sri Lanka cricket announces squad. Mendes axed as Matthews and Dhananjaya recalled. Tougher calls against North Korea. President Donald Trump insists US and allies prepare to defend freedom as he embarks on Marathon Asia tour. Bring you news from home and across the world. This is First at 9 on Other Derana 24/7. Good evening, I'm Katharina Chang. President Maithripala says he will impose restrictions on the importation of milk powder in a bid to strengthen the economy and empower local dairy farmers. Speaking at an event in Lanka today, the president pointed out that a sizable share of the country's coffers are utilized for dairy imports, which is why Sri Lankans should rise against imported milk.
A public forum under auspices of President Maithripala was held at Lanka in Polonnaruwa to discuss development activities and issues relating to the farmer community of the area.
International dairy companies have dominated Sri Lanka, but we will not allow these companies to affect our local farmers. We should be ashamed to be a country that consumes the highest volume of imported milk. It is only if we strengthen our own farmers that we will see the development in the sector.
Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe says the government will take steps to develop Muttiah International Airport through a joint venture between the Civil Aviation Authority of Sri Lanka and an Indian company. He made the remarks speaking at a program to distribute land deeds at the Derana Central College in Mathura today.
We took loans to build Hambantota Port. We had to use profits gained via Colombo Port for the maintenance of the Hambantota Port. Then we built Muttiah Airport. But no one came here except peacocks in the area. After holding discussions with the Chinese President and Prime Minister, we decided to make Hambantota Port a joint venture between the Ports Authority and one of the main companies in China. We agreed with the entity to pay rent and the charge for another 30 years. Now they are going to start work in December. Now it is the airport left. We held discussion with an Indian company about the Muttiah Airport. Civil Aviation Authority along with the company will start work from March next year. But yet we do not have an idea about what we can do with Suryavava Stadium. No one is there apart from wild elephants. This is still an issue that cannot be solved.
Despite assurances by the government that all is well, the recent fuel crisis continues to plague the country, with the public severely inconvenienced and unable to carry out day-to-day activities. Long and expanding queues continue to be seen in some fuel stations, while some stations were seen closed due to a shortfall of petrol stocks across the country. In this backdrop, however, Secretary to the Ministry of Petroleum Resources Development, Upali Marasinghe, says that the government contains adequate fuel stocks for 5 days.
A shipment of 30,000 metric tons of fuel imported by the Indian Oil Corporation last month was rejected upon being proven to be of substandard quality, leading to a fuel shortage across the country. Despite refusing the fuel shipment, Kolonava and Muthurajavela oil terminals continued to supply oil for IOC and Sipetco filling stations. The issue intensified further due to a delay in a shipment of 40,000 metric tons of petrol, which was due to arrive in the country on the 2nd of this month. The Ceylon Petroleum Corporation decided yesterday to issue only 80% of the country's petrol requirement. Speaking to Other Derana, Secretary to the Ministry of Petroleum Resources Development, Upali Marasinghe stated that the government possesses adequate fuel stocks for 5 days.
The fuel shortage, which caused long queues in filling stations across the country, continues for a third consecutive day. Many fuel stations were seen closed, citing lack of fuel storage.
The government is due to present a budget on Friday. I doubt it very much whether they are capable of doing that, for the simple reason that if they can't manage the petrol inflow in this country, I don't know how they can manage an economy. I really feel sorry for the people of this country.
Actually, this is not a very good condition of this country. The government has to be responsible for this. We are in the queues for long hours.
Hope this won't occur in the future.
It is the second time we are in this queue.
Once it was a strike, now I don't know what the reason is.
We want to know the reasons, we know the truth.
Despite the government's assurance on the availability of adequate fuel stocks for vehicles, many fuel stations were seen closed due to lack of fuel. Although the Colonnava oil terminal does not dispatch fuel on Sundays, today it dispatched petrol buses to various parts of the country. Meanwhile, the CPC points out that the IOC should be held responsible for the shortfall of fuel in the country.
The government is planning to hand over the oil tanks in Trincomalee for a 55-year lease. Given the current situation, what will be our fate if the government hands over the rest of the oil tanks?
Lanka oil.
Our country's filling stations are not owned by the IOC. If they assume that we are their economic colony, proper action should be taken against this in order to change that idea. No petrol ship has been delayed for more than 2 days.
The
IOC only owns 20% of the market share. If this is what happens when they hold 20% of the shares, what will happen if they own all the shares? Those who control the country's fuel supply control the entire country.
Many views were expressed in the political arena regarding the fuel shortage in the country.
Even for essential food items, a safe storage is maintained. I understand that such has not been maintained in the past 3 years. They should calculate the time period in between the placement of order and the time of arrival. From the 99 oil tanks of Trincomalee oil tank farm, 14 tanks were given to India. The government has decided to give the remaining 85 oil tanks to India on a 55-year lease. If we face a crisis as this after handing over just 14 oil tanks, what will be our plight if we give them the rest? This is a serious problem. The country should follow a proper mechanism for the management and distribution of fuel. There were many reasons for this issue, but we primarily see a weakness in finding solutions through communication. As a government, we should accept that shortcoming.
Indian oil
Fuel imported to the country by IOC was substandard. Out of panic, IOC forced Minister Arjuna Ranatunga to purchase that consignment. The oil tanker did not return to India. It is still anchored at Trincomalee. In the meantime, LIO is suggesting to buy the substandard fuel for storage in Trincomalee and to be distributed to the north and east. The subject minister refused to do so. Now we do not have sufficient fuel. Another fuel tank is due in the country on the 9th. What has IOC done? They created a fuel crisis in the country. Their aim was to put Minister Arjuna in trouble and to pave the way for him to resign so they could mislead the succeeding minister.
Deputy Minister of Power and Renewable Energy Ajit P. Pereira identifies that the need for investigation into reports that there are non-Sri Lankan citizen MPs in Parliament. He made the remark at a media briefing in Colombo today.
There was a concern on the validity of the UPFA nomination list for the Galle district pertaining to former MP Geetha Kumarasinghe. In this case, the public was misled to cast their vote for the UPFA. We do not know how many seats increased or decreased for them as a result, but this whole process is entirely illegal. As a lawyer, my view is that the entire nomination list of the UPFA is illegal. There are speculations within the Parliament that there are MPs who are citizens of other nations and that they haven't informed Parliament about it. We have a responsibility to investigate whether there are MPs who are not in fact Sri Lankan citizens.
Parliamentarian Barney Lagoona accuses that government's inefficient economic management system has led a higher cost of living in the country. He made these remarks addressing a media briefing organised by the joint opposition today.
In recent times, cost of living increased in large measures. Inflation rose to 8%. No one even knows whether there is a Minister for Trade Development anymore. The former Finance Minister should be responsible for this date. His budget was a complete lie, leading to an unusual printing of notes. The current interest on outstanding debt stand at 18%. This is a result of the central bank bond scam. It doesn't matter what Prime Minister says about progress made over the last 2 to 3 years. Each and every citizen is aware that the economy went downhill.
Meanwhile, the joint opposition submitted a complaint to the Inter-Parliamentary Union in Switzerland yesterday, claiming that parliamentary proceedings are carried out in a manner that is unfavourable to the opposition. The joint opposition also claimed it violates parliamentary traditions. Representing the joint opposition, parliamentarian Dallas Ala Peruma, Vasudevanana Akara and Gamini Lokuge had handed over the letter to Martin Chungong, Secretary General of the Inter-Parliamentary Union. The National Movement for the Release of Political Prisoners warns that unless opposition leader R. Sambandhan intervenes to resolve the issue of Tamil political prisoners, he can no longer engage in politics in the north. The remark was made during a visit to the Anuradhapura prison yesterday.
Parliamentarian Angajan Ramanathan, Northern Provincial Councillor M.K. Sivajilingam and convener of the National Movement for the Release of Political Prisoners, Reverend Father M. Sadivel, visited the Anuradhapura prison yesterday to speak to prisoners who have been on hunger strike for 40 days. Speaking to media, Northern Provincial Councillor M.K. Sivajilingam expressed hopes for a solution.
When we
spoke to President Maithripala Sirisena, he said he could give an answer after the Attorney General returns from overseas along with the Minister of Justice. The Governor of the Northern Province informed me today that a decision might have been made. He added that if this issue is taken up in court in a fair manner, a solution could be reached. If opposition leader R. Sambandhan is a true political leader of the Tamil people, he should listen to the request of political prisoners and take action. If he can't do so, he cannot engage in politics in the north. Political prisoners must be released unconditionally and a political decision must be taken.
Rescue officers uncovered a body of a 4-year-old girl today belonging to the group of people who were caught away in a sudden gush of water at the Vaddapani waterfall in Lanka yesterday. Amid heavy rains, teams from the Tri-Forces, Police Life-Saving and Police Special Task Force continue rescue operations in search of 2 others reported missing in the incident.
Last afternoon, 8 persons were swept away in a sudden gush of water at the Vaddapani in Lanka in the Maithripala district. The victims were part of a 12-member group on a family outing. 5 bodies, 3 male, 1 female and of a small girl were uncovered during search operations yesterday. During the uninterrupted search mission today, the body of a 4-year-old girl was also uncovered. Meanwhile, environmentalists raised concern over the lack of warnings put up in the area, mentioning risks for bathing in the Vaddapani, which attracts both local and foreign tourists.
It is for the first time that an incident such as this was reported in the location. There have never been security instructions during the rainy season. We asked to take this incident as a lesson and press for proper security measures in the area.
Leader of the Tamil United Liberation Front, V. Ananda Sangari, today declared that his party will contest at the upcoming local government elections independently, breaking away from the Tamil National Alliance. Let's now take a look at some other stories making news across Sri Lanka.
The Medical Faculty Students' Parents Association is scheduled to engage in a fast hunt to death tomorrow, urging the government to provide a permanent solution to the SITEM issue. Meanwhile, the Parents Association of SITEM also stated that their association would engage in a similar fast if the solution provided is unacceptable. Inspector General of Police Pujit Jayasundara says the silence of righteous individuals has paved the way for the conduct of immoral individuals. The IGP made this remark at a ceremony held in Teldeniya today. Several agricultural lands were destroyed following a wild elephant rampage which lasted for 4 consecutive days in the Varunagama village in Vallavaya, Monaragala. Residents claim that such incidents occur on a daily basis and that it has become dangerous for children to commute to school owing to wild elephant attacks. 8 Tamil Nadu fishermen were arrested by Sri Lanka Navy today over illegally fishing in Sri Lankan territorial waters.
You are watching Sri Lanka's #1 news channel, Derana 24/7.
Sri Lanka has no way out in managing external vulnerabilities and pressures constraining the economy unless the country gears towards an investment and export-led economy. Speaking at the unveiling of the second Sri Lanka Development Update by the World Bank, Deputy Minister of National Policies and Economic Affairs Dr. Harsha De Silva said the government is undertaking measures to combat existing challenges. He also added that the government is well aware of the bunching effect of external debt, for which a proactive approach will be taken in addressing.
The World Bank Sri Lanka Development Update for November 2017 highlighted that creating new opportunities and managing risks is critically important in ensuring sustainable development. It added that Sri Lanka's debt-to-GDP ratio is expected to stabilize in 2017 compared to 2016, having risen continuously since 2012. While such successes indicate progress, report authors cautioned vital reforms for foreign direct investment, trade and state-owned enterprises are lagging behind.
The issue really is not next year in terms of external debt payments. It is 3 years after that, which there's a whole bunching issue. And we are conscious of this, and we are, as a government, taking adequate steps to deal with it. I think the issue is that we are aware unless we deal with right now, we may be in trouble. And also, we will, in the near term, start this liability management mechanism that will deal with those specific issues.
Recently, Moody's Investor Service said in its report on the Sri Lankan government's credit profile that external pressures constrain the economy as reserve coverage of external debt obligations remained low despite recent increases in the foreign exchange services. The rating agency pointed out that a bunching up of repayments due from 2019, averaging $3.6 billion per year, raises rollover and external vulnerability risks. Speaking further at the event, the Deputy Minister also touched on the need for Sri Lanka to progress.
So we're taking conscious decisions to deal with those issues, to reform the trade laws. We must be able to increase the share of global trade that we are responsible for, and to make a non-tradable, debt-fueled, infrastructure-led growth model to an investment-led, tradable, export-led model is not that easy, but we understand that trade reforms are at the very bottom of this, and unless we do those reforms, we are not going to be able to sort of get where we want to.
The heir to the throne in Saudi Arabia has consolidated his hold on power with a major purge of the kingdom's political and business leadership. A new anti-corruption committee detained 11 princes, 4 sitting ministers and 10 former ministers hours after its establishment.
The new anti-corruption committee, headed by Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, was formed by royal decree yesterday. As per international media, the committee has launched investigations into the 2009 Jeddah floods as well as the outbreak of the MERS virus which surfaced in Saudi Arabia in 2012. The 11 princes, 4 current ministers and 10 former ministers also include the owner of investment firm Kingdom Holdings, billionaire Prince Al-Walid bin Talal.
Coming up next, you are watching Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Derana 24/7.
US President Donald Trump today ramped up rhetoric on North Korea, stating that the United States and its allies are prepared to defend freedom. Trump made the remark whilst addressing US and Japanese troops following his arrival in Japan this morning.
Embarking on the longest tour of Asia by a US president in 25 years, Donald Trump arrived in Japan today with the objective of forming a united front with Japan against North Korea's nuclear and missile threats. Upon landing in Japan, President Trump addressed both US and Japanese military troops.
No dictator, no regime, and no nation should underestimate ever American resolve.
Ahead of formal meetings scheduled to commence tomorrow, President Donald Trump and Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe were seen enjoying a game of golf at a country club in Tokyo today. Trump's Asia tour will also include visits to South Korea, China, Vietnam as well as the Philippines. Meanwhile, international media report that President Trump is expected to meet Russian President Vladimir Putin on the sidelines of the upcoming APEC summit in Vietnam.
Let's have a look at some other stories making news across the world.
Catalonia's deposed leader Carles Puigdemont and 4 former advisors have turned themselves in to Belgian police. An investigating judge is expected to decide by tomorrow whether to execute an EU arrest warrant issued by a Spanish judge on Friday. China's legislature has made disrespecting the national anthem a criminal offence, punishable by up to 3 years in jail. Members of China's Communist Party-controlled legislature, the National People's Congress, approved the amendment yesterday. Australia today turned down New Zealand's offer to take 150 asylum seekers being held in an Australian-run detention centre in Papua New Guinea, where UN officials have warned a humanitarian emergency is unfolding. But the matter is open to further consideration following a meeting between the country's leaders. About 600 men have barricaded themselves inside the camp on remote Manus Island in Papua New Guinea, defying efforts by Australia and Papua New Guinea to shut it. Food, running water and medical services were cut off by Australia 5 days ago.
You are watching Sri Lanka's trusted news brand, Derana 24/7.
Sri Lanka Cricket today announced the squad for the Test series against India, which is due to begin on the 16th of November at Eden Gardens, Kolkata. Top order batsmen Kusal Mendis, Kaushal Silva and Simanuwan Pradeep have been omitted from the squad. The team includes skipper Dinesh Chandimal, Dimut Karunaratne, Dhananjay De Silva, Sadira Samaravikrama, Angelo Matthews, Lahiru Tirimana, Rangana Herath, Suranga Lakmal, Dilruwan Pereira, Lahiru Gamage, Lakshan Sandakan, Vishwa Fernando, Dasun Shanaka, Niroshan Dikwala and Roshan Silva.
You are watching Sri Lanka's award-winning news channel, Derana 24/7.
Let's now cross over to Southern Upika at the Derana Weather Centre with their forecast for the next 24 hours.
Good evening and welcome to the Weather Centre. Now, tomorrow's temperatures will average at around 27 degrees Celsius in coastal areas, hitting a high of 29 degrees in the southeast. Cooler temperatures in the low 20s will prevail in the central hills. Now, a low pressure zone will form across the island during the latter half of the day, spelling widespread showers, especially in the northwest and central hills. That's it from the Weather Centre tonight. Up next is your city-by-city forecast.
Before we go, we'd like to take you to the Vladivostok Zoo in Russia, where a golden retriever was handed the unique task of raising critically endangered Amur leopard cub as her own. By the time the leopard cub outgrows its foster mother, 2 older big cats, a lion cub and a tiger cub, are in line to be its close comrades. Thank you for joining us and have a pleasant evening.
bringing you the news and information 24 hours a day. This is Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Derana 24/7.